What's going on, guys? This is DaWoblefet, and welcome to round 4 of the Swiss rounds for the North American Players' Cup 4 tournament. I was facing off against my opponent, Jeffrey Bird, who goes by Turtlemania online. Very cool name. I like Turtlemania. I am a big fan of turtles. I can super respect that. And my opponent is using a Colossal team. They're using a Life Orb Dragapult variant. It's not quite the same as like the Marco Fierro Soabe style of team, where they have like Air Slash on Togekiss and it can be used as an alternate Dynamax. And the Incineroar has Iapapa rather than Sugar Berry, and the Colossal is also Solar Beam rather than Earth Power. But all basically really minor changes. I know that since it's Life Orb on Dragapult, that means this is one of those offensive teams. So my game plan versus Colossal stuff, pretty straightforward. I do Clefairy and Regieleki up front with Lando and Registeel in the back. And it's really nice if they lead Cole and Dragapult. They can't max their Cole because Helping Hand max Electric into the Cole plus Surf damage will be enough to knock them out. This was before Soeb's Fat Colossal was starting to get popular, so I didn't think it would be that. I figured it'd be like 252, 252, 254, or like Wolf spread. And so like Helping Hand, Max Thunderbolt plus Surf will knock out the Colossal, and I also threatened the Dragapult doing it that way as well. If they had led Urshifu, then I would have been able to just follow me, use Electro Web, slow them down, and then go into Landorus and Max as well. So this is pretty straightforward. This is how I normally play against Colossal stuff. I'm able to just go for a straightforward Helping Hand, Max Electric here, and force the Colossal not to Dynamax. So that's going to put me in a great situation turn 1, because the Colossal won't be able to set up the G-Max Coles on me, or do anything related to that. So pretty good turn 1 for me. And my opponent is thinking about their moves here. They have a few options. They definitely can switch, or they can protect. Protect is pretty annoying for me if they do that kind of play, but not the end of the world. But they do have hard switching into Togekiss, and this will certainly faint. I am a modest Magnet Lucky with Helping Hand boost, so this is going to knock out the Togekiss for sure. That's great for me. I'm going to get a free knockout turn 1. The Dragapult did not switch out, but the Colossal did. That means that the Dragapult is probably going to Dynamax, which isn't like great for me. Maxing Regieleki into Dragapult teams is usually not the play, because you can't hit the Dragapult for a lot of damage because they resist your electric type attacks. Even with the Transistor and Magnet and Helping Hand and all that, Dragapult is a bulky boy. Or bulky enough that it can at least take those hits somewhat reliably. If I was Life Orb and Rising Voltage, then it does a lot more to it, but I am not that. I'm just Life Orb and Magnet, or excuse me, I'm just Modest and Magnet. And with this Modest and Magnet, Max Thunderbolt, I'm easily able to knock out this Togekiss. Togekiss is going down for sure. I don't know, maybe like Max Calm can live that, but no Togekiss is running that out here. So that's a knockout on the Togekiss, and that's great. If they go into the Cole next turn, I'm going to be able to just knock that out as well. So pretty good for me. They go for Max Airstream. That's going to put them faster than my Aleki. Does a little bit less than half to my Clefairy, which is good knowledge to have. One of the important things to keep in mind when I fight against this matchup is figuring out whether or not the Dragapult is adamant or not. By checking the damage rolls every time they hit me, I can potentially determine whether or not they're adamant or Jelly Dragapult. If they're adamant Dragapult, then that means my Spectrier can outspeed them. And that gives me the option of leading Spectrier into them, which is just another option that I have on the table available for me. So they switch into their Urshifu, and this isn't like great, but it's not the end of the world either. They can't knock out my Regieleki. I have to be cautious. If I go for like straight up Follow Me, and like if I do like Follow Me and just Max Electric to Urshifu, that's not good because they go for Phantasm into Clefairy, knock it out, and then they do Surging Strikes into Regieleki without Friend Guard and at -1, and that does a ton of damage. That would put me in KO range of potentially Aqua Jet, even maybe Dragapult's own attack, but they wisely just attack into my Regieleki there, not trying to kill the Clefairy. that's not good for me. I would have preferred to avoid taking damage there, but wasn't too much else I could do. It was basically like the option between follow me and not follow me, because I don't have the option to sing here since I set electric terrain, so can't do anything about that. I don't have an attack to hit their Urshifu, so they do go for the Surging Strikes into the Regieleki. And it does do a good chunk of damage. Thanks to my additional bulk, I am able to survive this attack, but it's not a good look. I'm still in not a great spot. However, my opponent still doesn't know my Regieleki's relative speed tier, so they can't go for like the easy play of max flying Surging Strikes. They don't know that that's available to them. They might be able to tell based on how well I took that combination attack. Maybe they can infer that I have a lot of bulk on my Regieleki, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I have low speed. I could potentially just have dropped a little bit of special attack for that. So go ahead and go for the follow me. I'm hoping they don't just go for Airstream and Surging Strikes because that would be bad. And I am grateful that they ended up using Aqua Jet, so that's perfect. That means I'm going to get a knockout on the Urshifu before my Landorus comes in, and that's basically what I want. I want to be able to knock out the Urshifu before my Landorus comes in. Now they can't go for a super powerful Surging Strikes into that slot. I am like somewhat wasting my max move having to kill a 1 HP Mon, but I really want this Pokemon dead, and using max electric into the Dragon Ball definitely wouldn't be the play there, so I get a KO, which is good. But I'm still kind of in a tricky situation. I know they have Cole in the back, and if I go into Lando, I can't go into Lando because a Surf plus Heat Wave will knock out my Landorus, especially if I let them knock out the Regieleki. So if Regieleki gets knocked out, then the Heat Wave was going to be single target, and that would definitely knock out my Landorus because even though I have a little bit of HP and special defense, I just won't be able to survive that attack. So I decide just to go into my Registeel. Now it's kind of the same idea. They could just like Surfing Heat Wave and knock me out, but the difference here is that I can protect my Registeel. So by protecting Registeel, it means that the follow-up Heat Wave will not be single target. That's basically what I'm trying to avoid here. And Registeel does survive this attack. It doesn't survive it very well, but it will survive the attack. So I'm just going to go ahead and just sack this off. I'll Thunderbolt into the Colossal in case they don't do this for some reason, like if they go for like Dragon Darts and Heat Wave, which is possible. They could definitely go for that if they wanted to, but I think Surf makes a lot more sense. So I go for Surf with their Life Orb Colossal, and the one nice thing about this is that they're going to do a lot of damage to their Colossal. They're probably going to do like 70% or so. I thought it does like 90%. I'm like, oh, yo. I'm like, whoa, that does so much to Colossal. I'm just like, jeez Louise, this is what Life Orb Dragapult has to do to boost the Colossal's stats. So it took a lot of damage. So it's definitely in Body Press KO range. It would have been in Body Press KO range either way, but I thought that was really funny that it happened to do that much extra damage thanks to the Life Orb. And then losing Life Orb damage to itself is nice too. I definitely am going to be chipping away at this thing. And I have to attack the Colossal first. So it's going to be tricky. I'm definitely going to attack the Colossal with my Registeel. Don't have anything better to do with that slot. And I go for Fly into the Dragapult. One option they potentially have is something like a Phantom Force Heat Wave play. I figured that was like not a terribly unreasonable play that they could make, especially since it would enable them to protect their Dragapult with certainty. But they just decide to go for Heat Wave and Dragon Darts. That makes sense too. They're able to knock out my Landorus there and do good damage to my Registeel. So Registeel is able to take the Dragon Darts pretty well, but it's looking not super great. Body Press isn't going to be able to knock out the Colossal, but now I'm in a really tough spot. My opponent can go for either Surf or Phantom Force. Now, Phantom Force is going to be a lot stronger than Surf, but if they go for Phantom Force and I go for Iron Defense, and then I go for Heavy Slam, that's bad for them. So it's basically a 50-50. Do I go for the Iron Defense here, or do I go for the Surf? Iron Defense lets me live the Phantom Force, like I said, that I can hit back with a Heavy Slam. But it's if they predict that and they just go for Surf, then it's better to go for Protect. And so here I was debating really hard back and forth what play to try to, I mean, it's basically a 50-50, but trying to think about what play my opponent would be expected to make here. So I'm just debating, like I said, I'm going back and forth between Iron Defense and Protect. I eventually decided to Luck and Protect, and I'm like, oh, I mean, if they go for Phantom Force, they got me. But I'm expecting them to go for Surf here. Surf wouldn't knock me out, but it would put me in K range of another Surf. And they do go for another Surf. And I'm like, yes, perfect. Okay, this is great. Because now I'm out of KO range of 2 Surfs. They can't knock me out. The Dragapult on these teams are min special attack IV. And so I'm like, okay, this is good. This is good. They can't do much damage, even with a single target. They're only supposed to do about, let's see here, about like 30 damage at most. And then they do a lot more damage than that because it's a critical hit. I'm like, oh no. And then as I'm running the numbers, I realize that critical hit was more than just a critical hit. That critical hit was not from 0 special attack IVs. That was from 31 special attack IVs. So my opponent is not running minimum special attack IVs on their Surf Dragapult, which explains why they did so much damage to the Colossal. And I am thinking to myself, well, what kind of dumb luck is this? I'm like, it's like the only 31 special attack IV Dragapult in the meta. But I've got to Protect. I have to hope my opponent's not going to go for Phantom Force. Surf is stronger than Phantom Force, but it breaks Protect, which is an evident advantage that they can pull off. So I'm not in K range of another Surf here. Surf is going to do at most 34 damage, but Heavy Slam is likely not going to be enough to put it in KO range the next turn. I'm likely going to need to hope for this Surf to do a really low damage roll, and it does pretty much near max. It does 32 damage, which is the second to highest roll that I could possibly do. So not like it matters too much. The damage range there is 29 to 34, so they're all pretty much in that range. I've got to Protect for sure. If they go for Phantom Force at this point, so be it. There's not really much I can do about that. I had to pick up that Iron Defense earlier in order to block them from actually going for the Phantom Force as an option, because Phantom Force would do more damage than Surf, so I really wanted to get that Iron Defense in at that point. Make sure, in case they did go for the Phantom Force, I have that extra defense available to me, but now I'm a turn behind because I did go for that Iron Defense. But again, if I didn't go for the Iron Defense, then they would just be able to go for Phantom Force and would just be able to knock me out, so it's it's kind of, like I say, I just have to kind of guess what my opponent is going to do. And at this point, I just have to Protect. I need to Protect to even possibly win. I need to have at least 29 HP. I need at least 29 HP in order to be able to survive the Surf. Unless this Dragapult is like in the middle of the pack for IVs, like maybe it's not max special attack, or not 31. But I only recovered a 27 HP there. So I need to double Protect. If I get the double Protect, then I will win the game, barring crits. Because I would be out KO range of Surf, and also they would KO themselves with Life Orb Recoil. But in order to get to that point, I need this double Protect. I don't have another play available to me. I need to get lucky in order to stand a chance. So my opponent is thinking about what they want to do. I go for a double Protect, and it fails, so Surf is going to be able to just pick up a knockout there. If they got for Phantom Force, then I could have won, but they did not. They went for Surf that time, so that's the correct play. So the 31 special attack IVs there on their Dragapult coming in clutch there. Without that, they wouldn't have been able to deal enough damage to me to pick up that knockout. So the critical hit and failing to double Protect there at the end. Kind of unfortunate, but I didn't feel like that really went that well anyway. The fact that I had to take that Heat Wave in the late game, the fact that my Regieleki kind of had to waste a lot of time just attacking the Urshifu with max moves that I didn't really need a max move there. I really was a little bit more inclined maybe to try to max my Landorus, but it's so tricky. You have to just find the right timing to do that. I also, when I practiced against this, when I practiced against cool stuff, it went a lot better for me in practice than it went just now. In practice, it usually was a lot simpler. My opponent And I think it was because all the practice I did, most of it I did, my opponent didn't max their Dragapult. And that's a big difference maker between maxing your Pult and not maxing it. And it didn't really, like, I wasn't sure what to do. Because I wasn't also, at this point, I hadn't been calcing whether or not, like, what I should have been doing was I should have been calcing whether or not the Dragapult was adamant or not. I had multiple different turns in order to be able to tell that. Different hits on my Reggie Alecki. I would have saw the Phantasm on Alecki. I would have saw the Airstream into Clef. I would have saw the Dragon Darts into Reggie Steel. So I had a pretty good chance of figuring out whether or not that was Adamant or Jolly Pult. And if I knew if it was Adamant or Jolly Pult, then I would be able to lead my Spectrier potentially into that. That would let me go for other options, but I wasn't calcing. So I didn't know whether or not, or excuse me, I should say I didn't calc enough. I think I did calc one of the hits, and it didn't tell me either way, but I didn't calc all of them. I also haven't calced them in Aftermath. I did not check. So because I didn't know whether or not I had the play available to me in order to just try to get around this Dragapult that way. So in this game, I'm like, okay, well, hitting the Colossal didn't work out very well. I don't think it's very likely that they're going to, I mean, I'm hoping they're just like try to go for Surf and like I hope they just try to Surf and max their Colossal, because then I can just knock out their Dragapult in one hit. Because Dragapult really here is the problem. It's not the Colossal, at least from how I played last game. And so I do max my Alecki again. I'm inclined, like, if I don't max my Alecki there, I mean, the best I can do is like, you know, like Helping Hand Thunderbolt or something like that. That doesn't seem especially strong. I was a little bit afraid of how that sort of interaction would work out. But my opponent does max their Dragapult again. So this time, at the very least, I put a lot of damage on the Dragapult early. This is going to do about 50%. It's going to do a little bit more than 50%. Thanks to, like I say, I know that this attack will normally one-shot Life Orb Dragapult if it doesn't max. And even though this Dragapult is maxing, I'm still going to do a ton of damage to it. So I'm going to get my Max Lightning off, and I'm going to do a good chunk of damage to the Dragapult. 50% is nice damage. It means I pressure it next turn with another Max Electric. And because it doesn't have Dragon Dance, I can't go for the Max Guard. So they have to go for a Follow Me if they want to stop this attack. The Max Flying comes out into my Clefairy, and I believe it's at this point that I realized that it actually was Adamant Dragapult. I believe it was at this point, I think, from this particular roll. Not 100% sure when I figured it out, but I do know I figured it out this game. And so this time I opt to go for the Double Protect, because I was worried about them going Urshifu after again. And if they go Urshifu after again, then they would be able to just knock me out straight up. Because they can go for like if I just let them say take my Clefairy, and I knock out the Togekiss, then they go into their Urshifu, they go for Airstream Surging Strikes, and it's awful for me, because then they figure out that they're faster than my Regieleki. It's just not good. It wouldn't be good. I can't handle that sort of thing. But I'm also in a bad spot here, because if I go for the Helping Hand into the Dragapult, that's not great, because... Alright, I need to go for Helping Hand, I should say. I can't just rely on a regular Max Electric, so I can't straight up Follow Me. If I don't Helping Hand, I'm not going to knock out this Dragapult, but I also don't feel comfortable staying in. I feel like I need my Clefairy for later in order to be able to take at least one hit from the Shurifu. Because, yeah, I'm not in a great spot to be able to handle it right now. So I switch out into my Registeel. I know it's going to be able to take the attack. It's not going to be able to take it super well, but it will be able to at least take the attack. And so I'm going to go for Max Lightning here into the Togekiss. Hopefully knock that out. And then next turn, potentially do something with Electro Web. But it's also not good, because since I have the defense drop, they have the option of going for like Aqua Jet Dragon Darts. And that's not good for me either. So even with my extra bulk on and Regieleki, the defense drop basically kind of negates all that bulk. And then the Togekiss survives, and I'm like, oh no, that is not good. Togekiss surviving there is not good for me, because it's another hit that I have to hit it with in order to get around this. Now I do have Electro Web that can dodge that, but it's still not great. And Dragon Darts is going to do a ton of damage to my Regieleki. It shouldn't knock it out as far as, if I can recall correctly off the top of my head. I don't think that knocks out Regieleki at -1, even with the life. Well, maybe it would just knock it out straight up with the -1 there. But regardless, they're not going to be able to knock out Registeel, so Registeel is going to get another round of Leftovers recovery, which is good. I expected here what my opponent to do was Phantom Force into my Regieleki and try to knock it out that way. But my opponent goes to the Helping Hand, and I'm like, oh, I completely forgot about the Helping Hand option. And that enables Dragon Darts for sure to knock out Regieleki. Even with my extra bulk, at -1, that's just going to go down. I can't do anything about that. And Registeel also takes some damage too. And honestly, at this point, some damage is bad. Because Flame is going to knock out this Dragapult, but I'm in a bad spot. I'm in a really bad spot. Lando is not good here. I'd rather have anything but Lando at this point in the game. If they have Rillaboom, that's okay, because then my Registeel can at least get some healing going. But it's almost certainly going to be the Urshifu. The Urshifu was really good in the last game. I don't really see any reason why they would want to switch it up. They want to bring their Urshifu in order to defeat the Landorus. It's typical for them to bring Urshifu into my teams, so I didn't think that they had decided to bring something else in the back. So now I'm in a really bad spot. I can switch into either Lando or Clef. I decided to go into Lando. At least switching into Lando means I get Intimidate on the Urshifu. That obviously doesn't matter for Surging Strikes, but it does matter for close combat. It means they can't just knock out my Registeel. They're going to have to do something else to defeat that. But still, it's looking bleak. Surging Strikes is going to be a 2 guaranteed knockouts, one on the Lando and then one on the Clef. And there's just not much I can do about this at this point. The Togekiss also has a hit left in it. And even if all was going fine here, I don't have a way of killing the Urshifu. Like, I can't kill it fast enough. Registeel isn't going to be able to do enough damage. There's nothing that I really can do to... I can't break the Urshifu Sash without getting an Iron... Like, I can't 2-hit KO the Urshifu without getting an Iron Defense. And I don't have time for that. I've got to take knockouts. If this Togekiss stays on the field, it's bad too. I mean, like, there's just no win-win. My opponent basically has me pinned. I let myself get into a situation where after my Lucky's max was gone, my opponent just kind of steamrolls me with Urshifu, and I don't really have very much to deal with it because I wasn't able to use my Regieleki to hit the opponent's Urshifu. So this isn't good. My opponent now has really straightforward plays in order to win this. I basically have to hope that they do something really dumb. They have to do something extraordinarily bad for me to win here. I know they've got Cole in the back. The only way that I can think of at this point to win is going for Earthquake with my Landorus, hoping they close combat the Registeel for some reason. Even that doesn't win me the game. There's just almost no way. Like they'd have to like side Aqua Jet for me to win this game, for me to have any kind of chance. Like if they side Aqua Jet the Cole and maybe they crit themselves and they double miss Heat Wave, and I don't go for Earthquake. Earthquake can't win me the game even if they go for side Aqua Jet double miss Heat Wave. But yeah, instead they just go for the very smart play of Surging Strikes into the Landorus to knock it out in 3 hits. And now I, like, Surface Super can't win. Even if I live this Heat Wave, there's, like I say, there's nothing I can do. I need the Iron Defense in order to be able to 2-KO this Urshifu, which hasn't gone to the close combats. I can't protect to gain bulk back because Unseen Fist going through protect. Even if I could, close combat would still, or Surging Strikes does about 30%, so it would definitely knock me out anyway. So this game is over. And I'm a nice guy. I'm going to let my opponent see the final animations of the victory. I'm not gonna just forfeit. I'll let them take their victory. Well earned. This game was definitely not as close as the first one. My adjustments that I tried to make just didn't work out, and that's not good. That felt like really bad. That my Colossal matchup was supposed to be better than this. I swear that I practiced it, and it just fell apart. I just kind of fell apart here. That did not work out well. And so I dropped 0-2 to Turtlemania. Well played to them. That was definitely a set that I think favored them. I think there was definitely a lot of plays that I could have done better. I think one of the biggest things I didn't do was figuring out whether or not the Dragapult was adamant in game 1. I think that was just a huge thing that I failed to do. And it could also be possible. Like I said, I didn't go back and actually calc everything to see if whether or not I would have confirmed whether or not it was adamant based on damage rolls. But I remember from the game itself. I wasn't calculating in game 1. I remember thinking about game 2, not knowing whether or not the Dragapult was adamant, and kicking myself because that information is super valuable to know whether or not my Spectre outspeeds, and I just didn't even do it. And that was just a series of poor plays, I think. So, or that was just not about poor plays, but just poor general preparation. Like that's when you've got the damage calculator available to you in these sorts of situations, you need to be taking advantage of it. You're not using it is a huge disadvantage. And I basically just kind of let myself be taken advantage of there. But I also thought my opponent played a lot better than I did, and that was kind of disheartening. The fact that my opponent led Dragapult Cole in 2 games, switched out turn 1 in both games, and just won with the Dragapult was really annoying. It wasn't supposed to be that bad. Now, granted, maxing Lucky, maybe that wasn't the play. Not sure. But nevertheless, I mean, that was what I had tried in my practice. Again, I mean, that was the reason why I switched to Clef plus Lucky in the first place, so I could just Helping Hand Max Electric them, and that was how I was supposed to win the matchup. It didn't work, so that wasn't good. So I do take my loss here at 3-1. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay, you know, that's about more like it. That's about more like it. More in line with my previous finishes. 3-0 start was nice, but there we go, knocking me down a peg, back to reality. Starting there at 3-1. So, hope you enjoyed watching this game. Until next time, have a good one.